common questions we get when people start looking at the iconic Omega Speedmaster MoonWatch is, what is the difference in all these different models? Am I right?
That's right.
So I'm here to just discuss them a little bit with you and point out what the main differences are, give you kind of a 30,000-foot flyover overview.
Great.
Not all of
no idea.
I mean, these watches have an absolute cult following. And if you were to start looking online, you can find out that you can go down to some really deep rabbit holes about different things about these watches. The one you've got there, that is the iconic MoonWatch. When we talk about the MoonWatch, the reason we call it that, it's actually the Speedmaster Professional. But we call it the MoonWatch because this was the first and only watch certified by NASA for space travel. So this was actually the first watch worn on the moon. And I've been obsessed with this watch since I was a kid. I saw the ads for it in Popular Mechanics going way back to the 70s and 80s. I've wanted this watch since 1980. And for me, it's just iconic. It's a 42 millimeter case. It has a hazelite crystal, which is not sapphire. It wouldn't shatter if it were to impact something inside the spacecraft. It's also, strangely enough, in the world of modern chronographs, it's a hand-wound mechanical. So you're actually going to have your 30 seconds of intimacy with your watch every morning. You're going to spend some time and wind it every day and admire what a beautiful choice you made buying your Omega Speedmaster MoonWatch.
I have a couple of manual wind watches in there, my absolute favorite.
So 42 millimeter case, hazelite crystal, that's the classic MoonWatch. This one is the Speedmaster Reduced. If you notice, it's a little bit smaller. It's a 39 millimeter case. And when it first came out, that was still considered a pretty big watch. But nowadays, for a lot of guys, maybe they've got a smaller wrist or they just don't like the giant watch trend, this one fits the bill really well. What's different about this one is that it is an automatic winding mechanical movement. So it will wind on the movement of your wrist. It's not the hand wound. And we're going down from the 42 millimeter to 39. Does that make sense?
I also noticed that the bracelet on the Reduced is very similar to the previous generation on the older versions of the MoonWatch as well, which is kind of nice.
You're right. One of the things that they've changed over the years, I used to say that they had a fantastic watch on an OK bracelet. And the bracelets on the previous models, like the one you've got on here.
This one has the pop clasp where you literally just reach behind it, grab it, and pull it out. And it doesn't have the side buttons to push and then release, which some people have certain feelings about that. And the bracelet's just a little bit different. You can actually see the difference.
The new bracelet doesn't taper down as small. It also is just a much more heavy-duty link. The clasp here, they really just stole it right off of the Seamaster. It's got the two buttons to open it up, and you can see how everything's milled real nicely. It's definitely a heavier-duty clasp. So if you're a purist, you'll want the one you've got on. If you want really modern everyday function, probably the new one's better. So that's the kind of plain vanilla versions, is either the full-size 42 millimeter Speedmaster Professional or the Speedmaster Reduced. Then we get into, there's an entire genre out there of Speedmaster Vintage. And people just go crazy about these Speedmaster Vintage watches.
I love them because of the patina, like the one I'm wearing now. It has the orangey looking indicators because those the lume has faded over time because they were the old tritium style. So they get this orangey yellow patina to them and they look amazing. But you have to wait a long time to get that done. And decades, right. This is probably an early 80s model. We don't know an exact year on this, but this is my favorite.
This one I've got on is from 1967. So this is what's called a Pre-Moon Speedmaster. If you look at the back of it, it doesn't have any of the normal verbiage about it being the first and only watch worn on the moon that the later MoonWatches had.
Which is, mine does.
Okay.
Yep.
So that means it's definitely from the early 70s on. But this one has the famous 321 movement. It's one of the most famous watch movements in all of watch history. It was made by an outside company for Omega called Lamania. But Omega ended up buying the company eventually, and they provide movements for Omega. So that one, you can see it's got a lot of patina going. People love these distressed leather straps. A lot of the watch sites now, this is actually the first watch you see when you log on to a lot of the watch sites because
Speedy
this has become so iconic. This one, if you like the original bracelet, this is another Pre-Moon. This one's from 1969, but you can see what the Pre-Moon bracelet would have looked like, just like the one that Creed has on. It's just a pop clasp there, and it's not milled as heavy duty as the current one. But again, for the purist, this is the one.
It does have a little bit of flex side to side, that's natural, and it's a little bit, it's not as heavy as the newer version of the bracelet, and to me, it's a little bit more comfortable in some ways. I know that's a little odd because you would think that having something that's as old and older technology wouldn't seem that way, but I actually kind of prefer it.
Okay, interesting. Well, one of the things that people asked for and Omega responded with was the desire for an exhibition case back so that they could see that beautiful movement. When they changed to the exhibition case back, Omega decided to dress up the movement. It came out with a new caliber number, 1863, but it's essentially an improvement on the 321. The watchmakers that I know, when I ask them about this, they say the 1863 is actually a better movement.
And we could get mired down in the details. There's a whole bunch of different versions of this movement, but we're not going to get mired down in the details because of the craziness that goes on with that. What I will point out is this particular movement is all gold. It has the gilding all over it, whereas some only have partially gilded, and then others don't have any gilding at all. So there's several different versions of that movement out there.
There's also a version that has the hazelite crystal on top and the sapphire crystal on back, so you can see the movement. There's yet another version that has sapphire on top and sapphire on back. That one's called the sapphire sandwich. But Omega really went nuts with doing lots of crazy commemorative versions of this watch. So if you're interested in something that's a little bit different from the plain vanilla original MoonWatch, you could seek out something that maybe is an interesting moon mission, an interesting commemorative event for you, and that might be the one to make you pull the trigger. This one, for example, it says on the back Apollo 11, so it's a commemorative of Apollo 11. This one has on the back, it has the verbiage that says, "The last man on the moon, December 14th, 1972, Apollo 17 40th anniversary."
This is an interesting dial on this watch.
That is a really interesting dial. I feel like this one's fairly polarizing. People either absolutely love it or they think, what in the world were they thinking?
It looks like a coin on the inside, so it's sort of got that Corum-esque feel to it with the coin-like imprintation, but then also it still has the subdials, so it still has everything that the normal MoonWatch does. It just looks more fancy.
It's really interesting. It reminds me a lot of the coin that comes with a lot of it's not really a coin, it's more of a medallion that comes with a lot of the Speedmaster Professionals. This one, you can see this has a blue dial and a blue bezel with the silver subdials.
Is that the Gemini edition?
It is, and when you look at this one, it's got a lot of color on the case back. It says Gemini 4 First Spacewalk, and it has the names of the astronauts who did it, McDivitt and White, and actually a little picture of an astronaut in the middle of a spacewalk. There's lots and lots of commemorative editions. I've seen the ones that were safety awards that have Snoopy on the dial.
Extremely hard to find.
There are really commemoratives for every Apollo and Gemini mission that I think that were done.
The Moon, Mars, and Earth edition is another one as well.
Where they actually have the planets real large on the dial. Really fascinating. You could probably spend an entire lifetime just collecting Speedmasters, but hopefully this gives you an overview of the idea of whether you would want to tend towards a vintage or something commemorative or the original straight up MoonWatch.
Fun fact about what we call the Gemini, if you go back and look at NASA tapes, they actually call it Gemini.
I've noticed that before, and I've heard that it's because it means twin, and that this was the mission where they were first experimenting with having the two astronauts in the capsule instead of just one, and so they would be controlling the spacecraft in tandem, and that's why it was called Gemini. But you're right.
Thank you, Norm.
There we go.
I had no idea that these things exist in the world. So I am like you. It's one of my favorite watches, the Speedmaster. Speedy Tuesday, hashtag Speedy Tuesday is a huge thing. Every single Tuesday you see just plethora of pictures of the Speedmaster, because if not everybody has one plus three. So if you don't have one, that's something that needs to be in your collection.
Definitely the bedrock of a collection. Some people just collect Breitling or just collect Rolex, but if you were going to collect the iconic watches from each company, this would be the first Omega for you to get.
And if you're a car guy or lady, this is definitely the watch for you, because any car show has at least 5 or 10 people out of 12 that have a Speedy on of some version.
Yep. All right, till next time.
SwissWatchExpo.